Hey, it's Samantha Hartley of the Profitable, Joyful Consulting Podcast. This season, we're talking about consulting insights. And one of the biggest insights that I ever got was to this concept about how to structure your consulting business for maximum profitability and joy, of course, but also efficiency and consistent lead flow. It's a revolutionary idea for many of my clients, as it was for me back when I first heard it. So I had spoken in the last episode about how when I first was working as a consultant, I worked with one client at a time because I didn't really realize that wasn't the way to do it. I had more of an employee mindset. And then only later would I start to work with multiple clients at a time, which is better from a risk standpoint because you don't have all your eggs in one basket. And it's a little harder from a time management aspect. But that is really the way that most consultants work. They take 100% of their working hours and they dedicate it to a client or all their clients that they're working with. And the problem with that is that the busier you get and the more time that is dedicated to working with clients, the less time you have to do anything else in the business that needs to be done. And so several years ago, I read a book by Milana Lashinsky called Coaching Millions. And in it, she lays out a new way to work. It was new to me, that will help you to ensure that you don't overwork in some areas and under-dedicate your time to other areas. So the way that basically is you divide your work week into thirds. You spend a third of your time working with clients, a third on business development or working on the business, and then a third of the time on creative strategy and pursuits. So I'm going to go through that after you recover from the shock that I'm sure you're in. When I first heard this, I was like, what did she just say? So I'm going to go through each of those buckets and kind of unpack what that really means and how you can structure your work this way, even if it seems impossible. So as I said, we're going from basically 100% of consultants' work time going towards clients to reducing that to a third. So if you want to work a 30-hour work week, only 10 of it would be in meetings with clients or you working on deliverables or anything like that, like only a third of your week. And again, every client that I've had and when I first started, we're all giving all of our time to client stuff. If you think of your work as billable, you're doing billable hours, then it's advantageous to structure your work this way. That's why, lawyers are doing this. They're working for billable hours. But if you're doing value-based pricing, that's not how you work. It's not about hour. It's about the outcome that you give to the client. So if you can get it done faster, good. So I want you to first think about your work week as a third of your time. No more than that is dedicated to client work, either meeting time or deliverables. So that's that first bucket. The second bucket is working on the business. This is business development, marketing, coaching your team members, any of the things that you need to be done, and they need to be done by you in order to grow the business. This is why I think this is amazing, is that this is where marketing happens in sales. And again, as I said, a lot of times clients of mine will work so much with clients, their own clients, that this piece falls to the wayside. So have you ever been so busy with client work that you didn't have time for marketing? And do you remember that puts you at peril because if you don't have lead flow coming in, when that busy client time is over, there's not somebody waiting after them. So we need to be marketing in our business all the time, even when we're super busy with client work. So this structure prevents you from being immersed in client work. So a third of your time is going to be thinking about how to grow the business and working on it. I've seen many businesses where this kind of function either doesn't happen at all or it happens on nights and weekends. And that's not your best brain time, and that's not when you want to be growing your business. You want to make sure you're growing your business all the time. So the last bucket is, and I call this one IP usually, it's thinking. It's creative ideation, making your IP, figuring out what your signature system is, figuring out what your offers should be, strategizing, all of the ideation that, you might see somebody who does this on on a walk with their dogs, or hey, in the shower, they're thinking about some ideas they've had. But to realize that if you set time out in your business, and not just a little time, but a third of your business, if you prioritize your IP and the strategy this way, then a third of your work week would be doing this work. I always say to my clients, imagine if you dedicated that amount of quality brain time to your IP, to strategizing, to coming up with content and new offers. Imagine if you spent a third of your time on actual marketing. You were really dedicated to growing your business. You were coaching your team. You were taking sales calls and learning about what your clients need. And imagine if you could reduce your client coaching or meeting or consulting hours, or the time that you're working on deliverables. Imagine if you could reduce that to just a third of your business. How would things shift for you? Well, you'll see a dramatic change, because that's what's happened for me and my business and for my clients. When you do these ratios differently, you just see completely different results happen in your business. Guess what? If you spend a third of your time thinking, you're smart and you'll make really smart moves in your business. If you spend a third of your time focusing on marketing and growing the business, you're going to see dramatic changes in your business. So one disclaimer that I want to make is, as you grow in your business, for many principal consultants, they will build a team. And so once you're at the $500,000 or $1 million mark, you might have a team who is doing more of the work in the business, and you're managing that team. And so that first number of client work and client delivery, it could reduce. It could be that it's not a third of your time anymore, that managing the team and growing the business is more your purview. And so you spend more time in that bucket than in the actual working with clients or on client deliverables. So it's just a thing to keep in mind that these ratios are kind of general. And as the business grows and evolves, you might need to spend more time in one bucket and then and less in the others. So how do you get from where you are to this? Well, first of all, I want you to think about it. Take a little time out of your business and really think, what if you were to structure your business this way? How are you already doing something like this? Is it the case that by the time you need thinking time or planning or marketing time, your calendar is already full with client commitments, and so those things end up in nights and weekends? So just think about what we've talked about today. And then I'd love for you to perform a time audit. It can be kind of a casual one, every 15 minutes or 30 minutes. Just like look for a week at where your time goes, especially if you are not calendar driven. So a lot of times people will put appointments on their calendar, but they don't put work on it. And that means I need to find a slot on my calendar to do work, but it's filled with appointments. So again, the nights and weekends. So what you want to work towards being is a little more calendar driven. If it's on my calendar, then I do it. That means that there's client meetings on there, but there's also any tasks or activities that you need to do. This is really getting honest with yourself and acknowledging the work I need to do is important and it needs a slot on my calendar. It's as important as a client meeting. And if it doesn't have a slot on my calendar, it's going to end up in those nights and weekends again. So if you build out your calendar with those tasks that need to happen every week, like, on Mondays, I have to have this done because on Tuesdays, this happens. Well, if you have all day meetings on Mondays and you never get to it, then either the thing is late constantly or it's happening after hours, which we don't want. So get in the habit of having your calendar control your activities, or at least block out times for these new things that we've talked about. So block out time for marketing, for business development, for coaching your team, for working on your business, any sorts of things that you're doing there. And block out time for thinking and ideating and strategy. If you have a coach that you work with, your meetings with a coach would go in this bucket. So do that time audit, see how you're spending your time now and see what needs to change for you to shift your schedule to working more in this way. And I think you're going to find you get epiphanies right off the bat, even if the first epiphany is that there's just never been enough time for you to do certain activities because you're doing too much client work. I know that for many consultants, especially in the beginning, they dream of having their clients, their calendar filled with client meetings, and they want to have a lot of clients and they want to spend a lot of time working with them because that's fun. It's what we love. We love our clients. And that's just the kind of thing that can pull you into having a business that is, churning you and not really taking care of you. So I want you to prioritize having value-based engagements where you're paid for outcomes that you get and not for the hours you work. And that will disincentivize you from wanting to have hours and hours of client meetings on your calendar or client work sessions on your calendar. So even if you are already doing some of these things that we've talked about today, I hope that you have still learned some new ideas for how you can be more profitable and joyful.
Thanks for watching. Please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and click the bell to get video updates. Thanks.